You know, every once in a while, a story comes along and it cuts right through the political noise in the country. And it reminds us there's still a few things that Americans agree on. And this week, believe it or not, one of those things is a car company. Here's the story. A new national survey of more than 11,000 Americans asked a very simple question. What's the most American brand in the country? The answer, and by a pretty comfortable margin, by the way, was Ford Motor Company. According to the survey, Republicans, Democrats, and Americans across every income bracket all ranked Ford as the most American brand in the country. Now think about that for a moment. In a country where it sometimes feels like we can't agree on what day of the week it is, Americans still seem to agree on that blue oval that has become a symbol of American car manufacturers. Among Republicans, about 21% said that Ford was the most American brand. That put it well ahead of the companies like Coca-Cola, McDonald's, and Harley-Davidson. Among Democrats, Ford still came out on top. About 16% chose Ford, followed closely by McDonald's and Coca-Cola. And what's interesting is this didn't cross political lines. It crossed economic lines too. Among Americans earning under $50,000 a year, Ford was number one. Among the middle income group, again, Ford was number one. And among Americans earning over $100,000 a year, Ford actually widened its lead. So the question becomes, why Ford? Why does that brand still carry so much symbolic weight in America? Well, part of the answer goes back more than a century. The company was founded in 1903 by Henry Ford, a man whose name became almost synonymous with American manufacturing. Henry Ford didn't just didn't build cars. He helped shape the modern industrial economy. His assembly line revolutionized manufacturing as we know it today. Suddenly, automobiles could be built faster, cheaper, and made available to ordinary Americans. But maybe just as important was something that he did in 1914. Ford announced that his workers would earn $5 a day, which at the time was roughly double the typical factory wage. That decision shocked the business world at the time, but Ford believed something very simple. If workers could afford the products that they built, the entire economy would grow. It was one of the earliest examples of the idea that a strong middle class benefits everyone in the country. And for generations, Ford vehicles became part of that American life. The Model T, the Mustang, and the F-150 pickup truck, which, by the way, has been America's best-selling truck for nearly a half a century now. But the company's reputation also grew during times of national crisis, during World War I, World War II. Ford factories shifted production from cars to tanks to Jeeps, aircraft engines, and military vehicles. At one point during World War II, Ford's Willow Run plant in Michigan was producing a B-24 bomber every 63 minutes. Now think about that. Automakers helping build the arsenal of democracy. That history matters, folks, and it's likely part of why Americans still associate Ford with the country itself. Bill Ford, the executive chairman of the company, the great-grandson of Henry Ford, talked about that legacy last week. He said Ford has spent more than a century strengthening the country, not just by building vehicles, but by expanding opportunity and improving people's lives. And he pointed out something else. Next year, of course, the U.S. will celebrate the 250th anniversary of our great country, 250 years since the founding of the nation. Now, Ford hasn't been around that long, but at more than 120 years old, it's been part of American history for a very, very long time. The company has survived world wars, recessions, oil crisis, the financial meltdown of 2008, dramatic changes in technology, and through all of that, the brand has remained deeply tied to American manufacturing. Now, that doesn't mean Ford hasn't had challenges. Like every automaker, it's navigating electric vehicles, new global competition, supply chain disruptions, the tariffs, changing consumer habits, and just this week, the company announced recalls affecting hundreds of thousands of vehicles, something the entire auto industry deals with from time to time. But even with those challenges, Americans still seem to view Ford as something bigger than just a company. For many people, it represents a piece of the American identity. The factory towns, the assembly lines, pickup trucks on job sites, and Mustangs cruising down Main Street on a Friday night. Part nostalgia, part history, part pride in American industry. And in a country that feels deeply divided politically, It's interesting that something as simple as a car company can still unite people across party lines. Maybe that says something about the enduring power of American manufacturing. Maybe it's just proof that some brands become woven into the national story itself. Either way, when Americans were asked what company best represents this country, the one name that rose to the top was Ford. And you hear me every day invite you to send your text to the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY, where the Upstate Ford dealer plays a vital role in our community and has for years. Matthew and Jim Firmin. Like I say, their name is on the sign because their name is on the line. They're proud to be part of the historic Ford family, and we're proud to have Firmin Ford as part of the Upstate community.